join me in welcoming tonight's keynote speaker, Dr. Robert Nassif.
Hi, everyone. First of all, just let me express my heartfelt appreciation for the opportunity tonight to share my reflections and insights with you on the anniversary of the Timothy School's 50th year. Your tagline, that teaching children with autism to be children, actually resonates very deeply in my life and work and my experience of autism. It's been a tough week, however you voted in our country, but tonight's our night to celebrate. Tonight's our night to celebrate all the little steps and the big steps, the inchstones and the milestones that kids with autism are making here and everywhere. So let me ask you a few questions first. How many here are parents of children or adults with autism? Would you stand up, those who are parents, and stay standing? Stand up and stay standing. Okay, thank you. Now, who are grandparents? Would you stand up, please? Any grandparents? Siblings, brothers and sisters of people with autism. Aunts and uncles. How about family, friends? Good, this is good. How about anybody who has a personal relationship with someone with autism? How about teachers, therapists? Wow. All right, this is great. Now you can sit down. I got another question, but thanks for that. Who here lives with autism and would be comfortable self-disclosing that? Stand up. Aaron, anyone else? Okay, thank you, Aaron. The motto of the autism self-advocacy movement is nothing about us without us. So we really, couldn't and shouldn't be here without the voice of someone with autism. I have a son who doesn't talk, who kind of taught me to talk about this. It's an odd kind of experience in a way. But presumably now, the rest of us have been diagnosed normal. Right? I don't know who did it. Maybe our mothers, maybe our fathers, but okay. So I'll tell you a little about my story. My son Tariq is turning 37 in a couple of weeks. I wasn't a young father, so don't do any quick math, please. You're watching, I think, a slideshow of him growing up. This is like from his first days till now. And you'll see that just, cycling through as we talk. So, like most children with autism, the overwhelming majority, he was born seemingly normal. His early development was normal. And then around 18 months of age, he stopped talking. He started flapping and spinning, all the pacing around, tantruming, everything we call the red flags of autism. And finally, around 4.5 years of age, he was diagnosed. And I couldn't get that A word out of my mouth. It stuck in my throat for a long time. It's been called the autism bomb. I can remember feeling when I heard it like my head was going to explode, like life as I knew it was over. And since that day that he stopped talking, I've been living and learning and trying to figure it out and talking about it, and then eventually teaching others about it, supporting parents about it, counseling people about it, teaching teachers about it, writing about it, and I'm still learning about it. When my son was diagnosed, autism had an incidence of 5 in 10,000. Today, it's 1 in 68, according to the CDC. The United Nations now considers it a global challenge. Fortunately, being in Philadelphia, my son got pretty good services, the best available at the time. He went to the Center for Autism, and he grew up at the Devereaux Foundation in Westchester. Today, he lives in a Ken Crest group home. in Montgomery County. And truly, it's been a transformational experience. Loving someone with autism, in effect, brings out the best in everyone. And I think being here tonight can bring out the best in everyone. It's part of it. But here's where the journey goes. When you lose a parent, you're an orphan. Lose a spouse, you're a widow or a widower. Lose the normal child you thought you had, there's no word for that. For how alone you feel. Yeah, you worry, you cry, you scream, you agonize, and then you hear that word autism. But what you could never imagine is how such a child could also bring out the best in you. How that moment is transformed. So, but for me, as the grandchild of immigrants, none of whom spoke English as a native language, they came from Italy and they came from the Middle East, I was taught and I believed that with hard work anything was possible. You know, that thing we call being American. We work hard and we can do everything. And you know what? It wasn't true. It wasn't true. Nothing I did altered the course of his autism very much. And that was a tough pill to swallow. After several years of doing the best I could to change and fix my son, I'm writing in my journal. That's how I tried to keep my head together. And one night I'm kind of crying and weeping. And then I realized he changed me. That he hadn't changed, but I was becoming different. I was becoming a better man and a better father, and that's the journey I'm still on. Unfinished. So my wife Cindy, who's here tonight, and our daughters, they taught me some important things. They taught me how to listen without trying to fix everything. They helped me understand and embrace feminism. And yeah, I needed to believe in their power and get the hell out of their way. So yeah, I've grown to accept autism, but that road was paved with anguish and the spectrum of emotion, and that's the journey of parents. We also fall along a spectrum of emotion and experience. So hearing that autism cannot be cured, that's a bomb for most families. On the other hand, learning that we can make a difference, that's the first step toward acceptance. And the Timothy School makes a difference. That's what we were hearing tonight. That's the reality of the Timothy School. So, in recent years, I've been fortunate, because of the voice I have and the things I've been able to write, to speak to parents and professionals from many countries at international conferences. And I can tell you, the mothers, the fathers, the teachers, the other professionals from those countries, they ask the same questions I anguished over. Is there a cure? Do you have it over there in the States? Is there a better place for my kid in the States? Will my child ever talk? What level of autism is it? Did the vaccines cause it? What about that special diet thing? Will that work? Can my child have a relationship? Will my child ever be independent? What's the risk if we have another child? That's a tough one. That's a really tough one to sit with young parents and help them sort out and tell them, you know, the current scientific knowledge about that. And finally, though, the most important question, how do we help our child? How do we help our child? And that's at the key of acceptance and love and of what it means to be family. Children with autism teach us a lot about what it means to be family. And children with autism are uniquely human, like the rest of us. So the word autism itself, though, can be a barrier between us and children and adults with autism. It's a barrier between our humanity and theirs. So one of the best books of recent years is called Uniquely Human by Barry Prezant. And Prezant tells us there's really no such thing as autistic behavior, only human behavior. So I have some more questions for you. We'll just do raise of hands this time. How many here, if you're like at an Eagles game or a Phillies game, clap your hands, jump up and down, get really excited for a touchdown, a home run, a soccer goal? How many people? All right, good. You're normal, I think. How many people here ever repeat yourself? Ever? Whoa, I'm not alone. Good. Here's a good one. Anybody ever socially awkward? This looks decidedly a little more male than female, those hands. I'm not sure I'm right about that, but it looked that way. Okay. There is some truth to that. How many here have certain fabrics that bother you, or the labels on clothes? How many people don't like that stuff? All right. And how about firm hugs and handshakes? How many like them or don't like them? One end or the other of that. Firm hugs and handshakes. How about certain smells being noxious? Certain smells just really skeeve you. Okay, all right. How about certain tastes? Certain tastes, you just can't handle it. Not your thing. Textures of certain foods skeeve you. All right, wow. So, are we all autistic? Right. See, Hans Asperger nailed this. He said, once you understand autism, you see little bits of it everywhere. Little bits of it are everywhere. So, when we start to pull these barriers down, then we're all here together. And that is just so important. That makes a difference. That kind of acceptance makes a difference. So just recently, Autism Speaks, the biggest national organization, decided that acceptance is more important than curing. It's a monumental move in the last few months. So self-advocate and Autism Speaks board member Stephen Shore, and a personal friend of mine, he recently stated in the Huffington Post, autism is something to be worked with for promoting fulfilling and productive lives of people with autism. Autism is here to stay and may be considered a part of the diversity of the human gene pool. All right? So we're all on this human spectrum, in other words. But that concept aside, we certainly need breakthroughs in research, and many individuals with autism, a very large percentage, have medical complications, seizures, GI problems, mental health problems, what we call the comorbidities, and they severely limit some individuals' ability to function in the world. So what's the difference between all of us who have some of these characteristics and people who have a diagnosis? It's that those characteristics, those social difficulties, those sensory difficulties, those communication difficulties get in the way of living a typical life. That's what separates who's diagnosed and who's not. And in our culture, in our society, we need to make that distinction in order to get the services and education to help people. But we need to get past the label, and that's what's so key. So as I've been able to listen to people and teach people and learn, and I'm always like right back there. And it's just so, it's so humbling to keep reliving that experience. The experiences you see in these slides. So what can we do? What can we all do? And I think it's also contained in that tagline. Children with autism are first and foremost children. It's an irreducible truth, and it's the key to unlocking that door to living and learning and accepting every day the differences that autism makes for families, the differences it makes for individuals living on the spectrum. So here's what I ask people when they want to know, what can we do? Like at the family level, and also at the school level. Every level, what can we do? What does your child like to do, I ask people. And sometimes they're mystified because they've been immersed in all the therapies and maybe lost track of just everyday living. And what's the best thing about your child? What's your child's strengths? What do you enjoy doing with your child? When are you just enjoying being together? That is great medicine. Now, it's not so easy, because when we love someone, we want to be with them, and we want to spend a lot of time with them. And often the reality of it is, kids and adults with autism can be hard to be with. They're into what they want to do, and they're not always easy to connect with. Yet, moments of connection are always possible if we stop, pay attention, and just be there. Just be there and look for those moments, that sideways eye contact, that flapping, that spinning, whatever we can do to join in, that video game that maybe we can watch and talk about, that Disney movie playing for the 100th time that we can get into and pretend we're one of the characters, as happened in Life Animated. There are ways to connect, and there are times that things are going smoothly. That's the other question I ask people to help them kind of light up the path, is when are things going smoothly? And when they're going smoothly, we're engaged. We're enjoying each other. We're doing stuff. So these kind of questions, from my experience as a psychologist, they help parents think beyond the diagnosis and connect with their child in the moment. Too much emphasis on trying to change or fix the child spoils the loving, which is at the back of it all, the core of the relationship. Children with autism need positive, energetic parents, enjoying and loving them as they are, simultaneously cheering them on for every little achievement. I know fathers in Seattle, they call it inch stones, the little teeny steps forward on that developmental ladder. Our kids, very frequently, they're not making the milestones, but they're these little inch stones. And the inches turn into feet, turn into yards. I'm hearing about that all the time. I heard about that at our dinner table, by the way, from Aaron's parents. And it's just a heartwarming story. And scientific evidence affirms clearly that individuals with autism, just like those typically developing people, can learn and progress through their lifespan. Early diagnosis, intensive evidence-based services, and parent involvement are the essential components, and those all exist here at the Timothy School, and we need more. We need more everywhere, and we need more years at the Timothy School. So as we're listening to people, we find a deepening understanding of our shared humanity. That's why I gave you these questions about things that might be diagnostic at one level and are just normal at another level. We share these characteristics. It's just an overabundance of them that gets in the way of living. That's all it is. Not that that's insignificant, but when we take that barrier down a notch, get beyond that word, then we're just human to human, parent to child, teacher to child, and that's when we can enjoy each other. So all of us, whether we have autism or not, we're hardwired to respond with compassion to each other's joys and sorrows. It's a stereotype that children with autism have no feeling. They have trouble expressing their feeling often, communicating it appropriately, but they're not devoid of it. No one is. And as we reach out, as we learn more and more, the growing and interconnected awareness of our differences has the potential to tear down barriers of all kinds. When I go to other countries, it seems like there's no borders. It seems like, we're one people of various colors, languages, and faith traditions. So on this anniversary of the Timothy School, I say, let's all keep making a difference. And finally, I just want to thank you for listening to my voice tonight. And, be well, enjoy the rest of the evening. When it's time to go, have a safe journey home. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. DeSteed.